Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to our beloved lecturer, Dr. Irene. And today I am Muhammad Iqmal. I will be getting into detail of my previous reflection report on the object that I have chosen to symbolize my journey through learning and teaching process. So as of today, I have looked about the reflection on the object that I have chosen, which is the chrysalis. And after finishing my reflection report, I have started to see it way differently. So, I originally chose the chrysalis to represent a quiet internal process of transformation. But however, after completing my written reflection, I begin to see it differently as the chrysalis no longer feels like a passive stage. It represents the deliberate effort required to stay in discomfort long enough for changes and growth to take place. It symbolizes the discipline of holding myself together when everything around me demands quick reactions, sudden changes, and immediate answers. This new perspective helped me to understand that growth is not just a process of unfolding myself, but it is a decision that I needed to endure, the unseen work that strengthens who we eventually will become. Through the reflective process, I learned several important things about myself as both a learner and a future ESL teacher. I realized that I have often mistaken confidence for a sudden transformation, when in fact, my confidence was built from a series of small, uncomfortable moments. When I reflected on my role during the new intake period, I saw how much I had grown from someone who once avoided challenges into someone who could communicate clearly. And I get to manage multiple things at a time, multitasking appears. And I needed to enforce myself to adapt to a whole new environment. As a learner, I discovered that I grow the most when I'm under pressure, not because pressure is pleasant, but because it reveals strengths that I have never acknowledged. The process made me more aware of my tendency to downplay my own capabilities, even when I'm performing well. Reflecting deeply helped me to see that I am more resilient and I am actually more patient than my previous capabilities that I thought I was. As a future ESL teacher, I learned that I naturally gravitate toward the empathy and clarity with students. And by that time, I would really consider it as a pure empathy since I was interacting with people around my age. However, handling parents' concerns, guiding the new students, and navigating a hectic environment showed me that I can actually remain calm. It's just the mind that tells me that I always have been stuck, while in fact I'm not. The reflective process helped me to recognize this as a real teaching skill, where the ability to maintain composure is actually the ability to create a safe environment. It also made me aware of my own limits. There were moments during the intake week where I actually felt really overwhelmed and I was actually very exhausted. Well, that's reality of life. That's the reality of becoming a teacher. There were days that were just not like the others. And I have also realized that some shortcomings or drawbacks does not make me any weak. I would never reconsider getting back into a place where I was very much vulnerable to self-hatred just because of some unfortunate things happening. Instead, it makes me more thoughtful as a learner who understands better of the need of others, especially for my future students. These insights have directly shaped the kind of teacher that I will be. Understanding how deeply communication and emotional regulation affected my experience has made me more aware of their importance in a classroom and out of classroom. I absolutely wanted to create a learning environment where everyone felt appreciated, and of course, and I would very much encourage inclusivity in learning, where I get to include those who are proficient in English and those who are less proficient one to grow together as one. Just as I learned how to communicate more clearly with clarity, I get to learn how to give actual proper instructions by structuring them very well, do a preparation before I actually spread them around, and I also offer meaningful feedback and maintaining open communication channels with my students. My experience has also made me value reflective practice a lot. It reminded me that teaching is not only about delivering content, but also about responding to students' emotional and cognitive needs. I plan to make reflection part of my teaching routine as well, as I get to discover what should I actually improve, what needs to be maintained, and of course, come up with a better solutions for the upcoming problems, so I can show up as my best version of myself to my students and others. I now understand that a teacher who takes care of their own well-being is better equipped than others who put others first. The chrysalis represents more than just my experience during a single event. It symbolizes my overall journey of growth, the quiet parts, the difficult parts, and the hidden one as well. It reminds me that transformation is rarely glamorous. It could be hard, it could be awkward, it could be weird sometimes, especially in the beginning. However, it happens through many, many phases where we feel uncertain, uncomfortable, and if you were to ask me, I would always love to go for it again. The chrysalis captures the courage it takes to stay in the middle stage long enough for growth to shape us meaningfully. It also symbolizes the balance between fragility and strength that I have within myself, but is yet to discover. A chrysalis looks more delicate from the outside, but inside it holds a very powerful change. Similarly, I learned that even when I felt vulnerable, but as an educator, patience and composure is indeed very crucial. I need to be equipped with the confidence to step forward rather than to step back. This symbolic object now mirrors the ongoing process of becoming. Maybe I was no longer a caterpillar, but now I am the butterfly. I keep on flying higher and higher, but whenever I stumble upon new mistakes, therefore, my chrysalis appears. To conclude, this reflection has totally reshaped my mindset of how I see myself in the mirror. In my daily life, I always have the tendency to put myself down due to whatever that has happened yesterday, back then, from centuries ago even. But through this reflection, I have learned that discomfort happens now for the better future. The chrysalis never fails to remind me that growth requires patience, is formed from the inside, without anybody's knowing, without anyone's acknowledgement, but the person itself. I now carry the belief that I will forever grow as a bigger person than I was yesterday. That is all from me. Thank you.